Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 best decks in format. We recently just received Pokemon Go into our format, and we're all preparing for the World Championships or in a World Championships related format. That being said, we will be covering my personal 10 best decks for this format in order from 10 to 1. Put your best guesses in the comments below, and we will have links to all of the videos for those decks, showing you how to play those decks, and description and deck lists and all that good stuff in the comments below. So stay tuned for all that. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump into our number 10 choice. You are now watching Zach Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Jumping into number 10 is Lunatone Solrock. This deck is everywhere, so much that players are naming their tournaments after it and telling them not to play it. I mean, I don't necessarily think this deck is as annoying as other people do, but it is a very competitive budget deck, and I think that's where I'll put it. It was really hard for me to come up with this list because I feel like 9th place and 10th place could have been anything, and everything top 8 seems like they're more close in range. So 9th and 10th really fell off a lot. That's my opinion. I just don't necessarily think that these decks see as much success as other decks. But your whole goal is to use Solrock to accelerate energies to your Lunatones, hit for a lot of damage with Moon Kinesis, getting those energies in the discard pile and attacking. You can use things such as Regigigas to get it back over and over again. So it's a cool concept, might just not necessarily be the best deck in the world, but it's definitely a solid deck that can win games. Hopping into number 9 is Regigigas. Now, Regigigas is a deck that I thought would have seen a lot more success after it did very well at the Japanese National Championships, but here we are, it's at number 9 in our top 10 lists. The goal of this deck is to get all the different kinds of Regis out and start using Ancient Wisdom to attack with the right ones for the right matchup. So if you face yourself against an Arceus VSTAR deck, you might want to use Regirock because fighting should beat fighting weak Pokemon, and things like Regieleki with a Choice Belt would be very good against a Palkia VSTAR. That's not always the case, and this deck can sometimes crumble to become an inconsistent mess, but that's part of the fun of it, right? I think what decks 9 and 10 have in common, which sets them apart, is that they are single prize card decks. We are in an Inteleon based format, so almost every single deck has an answer to Inteleon, or every single Inteleon deck has an answer to a single prize card deck. So that's really where these decks are going to struggle, between inconsistency, just being too slow, and I mean Radiant Greninja can definitely prey on these cards very quickly. So we'll have to see, but let's jump into number 8. I feel that's really where the list kind of starts kicking off. Moving on to number 8, we have Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX with Palkia VSTAR. This is Vinny Fernandez's list that won the Late Night Series a couple weeks back, and it's based off Frank Persick's list from Milwaukee and North American International Championships. The goal of this deck is to be Ice Rider / Palkia. You can choose between being a 3-prizer or a 2-prizer and have different modes of damage so that you can kind of carry out against your opponents, with a lot of opportunities to come out with things like Cross Switcher into Bibarel or using Irida, and like there's a lot of plays that you can make with this deck. It's just, I think it struggles with consistency issues at times, and I think that's really where it's at. Like the list is like decks that are most consistent to least consistent, although when this deck does set up, it sets up like crazy and can absolutely demolish things. You don't want to be a Palkia player when your opponent is going for Ice Rider Calyrex 250 base plus Choice Belt, and even if you have a Big Charm or Tool Jammer or Tool Scrapper, they have Leon as well. So this deck certainly has opportunities. It hits hard, and with the new Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX League Battle deck, you might just want to try this one out. Jumping into number 7, we have Arceus VSTAR with Duraludon VMAX. This is a combo that is going to kick off some of our Arceus decks here. We're going to be using Arceus VSTAR, either using Trinity Charge, Trinity Nova to accelerate energies to our various Pokemon V, and including Arceus VSTAR itself, and using Starbirth to grab things out. In this case, we're going to be powering up Duraludon VMAX, which can hit for a steady 220, which is great to knock out a lot of Pokemon V, and two-shot a lot of things. Skyscraper can slow down your opponent if they have special energies attached, by you just not taking any damage. Any damage that they do, you can use Crystal Cave and Hyper Potion and Big Charm to really make it so hard for your opponent to climb up. The goal of this deck is to really offer an Arceus VSTAR and 2 Duraludon VMAX out to force your opponent into drawing 8 prize cards. And of course, Single Strike Mustard can summon that Duraludon VMAX if you lower your hand to only the Single Strike Mustard. This deck's pretty effective. It's just there's not a lot of decks that it's there's not a lot of decks that it's countering in the format right now, especially with Mew slipping a little bit. I think this is just one of those ones where it's riding the wave until it's more relevant again in the format. Moving on up, we got Turbo Dialga VSTAR. This deck is supposed to go absolutely crazy on your opponent. You're going to be using Mew from Celebration's Mysterious Tell, so you're able to grab item cards from the top of your deck. You can kind of rotate through whatever you want and try to get Metal Saucers onto a Dialga VSTAR. If you're able to get off your Star Chronos attack, you can attack again and then attack with the Dialga VSTAR with all those extra energies. So basically go knock out a V, knock out another V with your bigger attack, and then really just push it to where you don't get knocked out, and then you attack again. This deck can absolutely end games super quickly, but it is a bit of a glass cannon if you cannot accelerate things quick enough. With Pokestop and Silene, you are able to get back Metal Saucers, so that might just be the necessary breath of light that this deck really needs into it. But beyond that, we'll have to see how things go. It's one of those things where you can't have everything. So I think it's a super solid list. I like how it looks, but it is a little bit inconsistent at times, but the power level can more than make up for it in other games. Oh, how the mighty has fallen. Mew VMAX is now sitting at number 5 in the format, whereas this would have been a clear-cut number 1. Mew VMAX is going to be copying all the different attacks for your Fusion Strike Pokemon, but mostly you're going to be copying Genesect V's Techno Blast and Meloetta's Melodious Echo, as long as you have some Fusion Strike energy in play. This deck has really fallen down the ranks because a lot of decks have just found ways to counter it, like Palkia plays Path to the Peak and has solidified game plans to knock out Mew and basically always win. Inteleon has also come up with those game plans, and if we just go down, like, it's just like, would you really want to play Mew VMAX against Duraludon? Even like Flying Pikachu, Azul's list played the 1-1 Crobat VMAX, right? So a lot of these decks are mirror or just really tough matchups, and while Mew can still win, it's just not as easy, so it has a little bit of an uneven matchup spread. Against a lot of decks, this deck does very well, but on the other hand, with Palkia being one of the bigger decks, I don't want to give any hints away here, it's one of those things where that's why Mew is struggling. Again, I think Mew will have its day again once the format kind of equalized out, when we get some things from Lost Origins, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if I saw Mew in the Finals of Worlds, but it's just not the most well-positioned deck right now. Hopping into number 4, we have Arceus VSTAR with Flying Pikachu VMAX. Now, this is a base list based off whatever Azul was able to win the North American International Championships with. I basically cut the Crobat VMAX because we're not seeing a lot of Mew, and I added, I'm trying to look to see exactly what I added. I believe I added some more support in this deck in general. I think I added a Capture Energy and a Supporter just so this deck could get some more things going a little bit quicker. Arceus VSTAR is going to be powering up Flying Pikachu, or just being an Arceus VSTAR deck. And you can see we got the barrel here instead of Inteleon to search things up. If you need to power up Flying Pikachu VMAX, it's going to be great against things that are weak to lightning, like Palkia VSTAR. And of course, you could just stop your opponent's basic Pokemon from doing damage to it with its Max Balloon attack, because it stops basic Pokemon from damaging the Flying Pikachu VMAX. Really interesting deck over here, and I think it's just like one of those heavy hitter decks. It does what it does, not really much skill beyond it. You're just attacking, but sometimes that strategy works. Jumping into number 3 is going to be a take on Sander Wojciech's Mewtwo V-Union deck. Now, Mewtwo V-Union might not necessarily see as much success as these other decks in online tournaments, but it did make top 4 at the North American International Championships, and I think enough players, they're just not really giving this deck credit where it's deserved. You basically sort between, are you going to be using Miltank to stop your opponent's V-Star, V-Max, V-Union? Are you going to be using Mewtwo V-Union to automatically heal with Super Regeneration against Pokemon that do around 200 damage or less? You also have Yveltal to remove your opponent's special energies, which would work great in combination with Crushing Hammer and Flannery. The goal of this deck is to eventually loop things with Silene, so that you could just run your opponent out of resources over and over and over again to the point where you just win the game. I think this deck is very good, probably underrated in this format. However, a lot of top players do know how to play against it nowadays, and now that we understand what's going on with this deck, it might not necessarily be as effective. It is super cool to see a V-Union get summoned into play, and this deck is quite powerful, so if you don't have your Mewtwo V-Unions already, definitely pick those up. Jumping into our number 2 deck, our runner-up deck is Arceus VSTAR with Inteleon. So our Arceus is going to be powering itself up, but we are going to have the power of Shady Dealings to search out whatever trainer cards we want, and that gives us a lot of options to just Roxanne, path our opponent out of nowhere, or play Charon's Care to heal, or anything like that. I mean, I think it's a deck like this that I want to add Radiant Charizard into, and I have seen a few builds that cut the big charms, minus it for choice belts, and they build decks around Radiant Charizard. I think that's a really cool concept, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that being the better version eventually. Kind of how we had Arc Dark Inteleon that saw more success at some points, basically around Indiana Regionals. And it's one of those things where we're just not there yet for the whole global metagame, but it is things that players are working on, so I figured I'd let you know about that. That being said, this is just a really basic deck that has a bunch of fair matchups against the metagame. You don't really have any bad matchups against the metagame, so you can kind of do whatever you want with this deck. Very basic movement, but it's effective. What's going to be our number 1 deck? Take your best guesses below. And here we have it at number 1, we have Origin Form Palkia VSTAR with Inteleon. This deck has absolutely popped off, and it sees the most success at online events, and it did come second at the North American International Championships. You're going to be using your Palkia VSTAR with all the Pokemon in play to do a bunch of damage to your opponent's Pokemon, and of course you could power up water energies to any of your Pokemon in this deck, including Radiant Greninja. So if you find 2 Sobbles, 2 Drizzles there, you can just snipe them out. With 4 Irida and 4 Battle VIP Pass, this deck should be the definition of consistency. And of course, since I did take out cross switches from this deck, I know some of y'all will hate this list for that, but I think it's perfectly acceptable to have Cheryl and Leon in this deck. I think those are both very powerful cards, and of course you can kind of balance however you want to play this deck throughout the game. This deck is proven to be the most successful deck in our Astral Radiance / Pokemon Go format, and I truly expect this to be one of the most, if not most, played decks at least day 1 of Worlds. So if you haven't already tried it, or if you haven't already picked it up, I totally recommend doing that beforehand. That being said, that's what we got for our number 1. What do you think about this list? Let me close things out. And that's what we got going on for this video today. Hopefully you enjoyed watching everything, learning about these decks, and maybe your deck is on there, maybe it's not. Let me know in the comments below, would you change anything with these lists? I know that I want to add Radiant Charizard to about everything nowadays, so it's in some of my personal lists. These are lists that are more natural to the metagame right now, if that makes any sense. Lists that have been seeing success and similar lists that have been seeing success, not my own crazy takes in most cases. So that being said, that's what we got for this video. Again, check out the comments for all of the lists, all of the links to those videos, all that great stuff. Like, share, subscribe, all that great stuff, and I'll catch up with y'all later. I'm going to be a little bit light on videos, to be honest. It's one of those things where the Pokemon Go set hasn't really added too much into our format. It's added a lot for sure. So I'm creating videos on things that I want to create videos on and really trying my best to grow as a content creator. I'll have more news on everything going forward real soon, so stay tuned for that. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great one. If you're looking for a great deal on some physical Pokemon TCG cards, you can head over to atlascollectibles.com or atlastcg.com. Type in whatever cards you're looking for. So Arceus VSTAR is absolutely hot right now. Let's search up Arceus VSTAR. You can see they have a great selection of cards, and it's continuously getting new stock all the time. And we can add these to our cart. You can see I already added 1 to my cart. So when you're going to check out, you can use code Lesage8. Use that code, and you could save off your order. That was $4.80 of savings just off of an Arceus VSTAR. It's all in Canadian pricing, and they do shipping across the world. So by all means, check out atlastcg.com, atlascollectibles.com, and use code ZLesage8 to save on your next order of physical Pokemon TCG cards. Check out PTCGO Store.com, the best place to get Pokemon TCG online codes. There's a lot of selection available, and I have a discount code available for the website as well. You can pick up any kind of cards, just going up here. You can add them to your cart in any quantity that you need to get the cards that you need. And you can go to the discount code right over here, and you can put in code ZLesage5 to save 5% on your next order of codes. Are you trying to get better at Pokemon TCG? Well, if you are, you're in the right place. I offer coaching at metafy.gg/@ZachLesage. That link is in the description, and you pick up a coaching session from me and book it on the website. I likely have availability this week, and you can see exactly what my availability calendar is at any given time. I offer training plans to help players get ready for any of their upcoming events, including getting all the way to the World Championships, or you can pick up a one-on-one coaching session from me and learn the game at your own pace. I offer a variety of opportunities for players to get better at the game, and it's one of those things where there's a lot of players who I've turned into regional, international, and even a world champion along the way. If there's anything that shows, I have an FAQ on the website, so by all means, check it out and get better today. I'd love to help you on your Pokemon journey and be absolutely amazing to see your growth. Head on over to TCEvolutions.com for some high quality, aluminum manufactured Pokemon TCG accessories, including their new VSTAR markers that you can see that they have right here. They also have ability markers that have by all means saved me some stress at Pokemon events. You can see right here, if you put it on your Pokemon, such as Drizzile or your Radiant Greninja, you can tell when you use your ability so you do not use an ability again. That's going to save you prize card penalties at events and save you potentially thousands of dollars if you play well enough with those. I know they've certainly saved me. That being said, use code ZAC10 to save 10% off anything site-wide at TCEvolutions.com. This video is sponsored by PokeXWord, the best place to get your fill of Pokemon-inspired crossword puzzles. New puzzles are posted every single Sunday, and it's a great way to disconnect and have some fun. They also host monthly giveaways on their channel, so be sure to check those out. I personally complete these puzzles every single week, and sometimes they're pretty challenging. Let's check out one of the hard ones. So if we check out here, there's a lot of things that might be difficult here. So if it's a little bit too difficult for you, you can always go and complete the normal ones that might be a little bit easier. They're pretty fun though. Definitely check them out. Be sure to follow PokeXWord on Twitter at PokeXWord and get notified when new puzzles go up and when their monthly giveaways are live. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video, and have yourself a great day. Thanks.